Get your hands on it.
even.
Hey, Cole.
No.
You want me to go through and explain all my tattoos one by one?
Yeah.
All right, well, first.
You know what we should do? First, my tattoo of an inchworm.
It starts as an inchworm, but then it turns into
Welcome to the Whiskey Tribe!
Hey, sorry.
We're going to get into the top several whiskeys that people fell out of love with.
Yeah.
It's good because I hate you. It's interesting. In the Whiskey Tribe, first of all, start with this. The best whiskey is the whiskey you like to drink.
Right.
The way you like to drink it.
Yes.
So people can have like strong preferences about the whiskeys they do and don't like. You just don't shit on people.
Right.
For their whiskey preferences. The way that people's preferences, their taste, their opinions of bottles, that can change over time.
Yeah, so it evolves into a whole other category. Sometimes it evolves into the same category but higher proof.
Yeah.
Sometimes it evolves into simplicity.
Yeah, I think there's certain whiskeys, there's certain brands even, that functionally play a very important role in the world of whiskey. I think there's some brands that's just very easy for the newcomer, the beginner, the novice to dive into and really enjoy. It's meeting them where they're at.
Right.
We're big fans of this idea of like wherever you're at, meeting people at that level. And we're going to get into the brands that I think arguably, the ones that we're going to list out here, these are brands that serve a really important function, but as people get deeper into the whiskey scene, maybe they get bored. Maybe it's too simple. Coming in at number 6.
Okay.
This is Monkey Shoulder.
Okay.
Monkey Shoulder, this is a blended scotch.
This group sort of ruined me for Monkey Shoulder.
Okay.
Not the people who like it,
Right.
but the people who didn't like it and why they didn't. I went back to it to try to see what they're talking about, and I found it.
You found it?
And it sort of turned me off a little bit.
This whiskey is the 6th most common whiskey that people are citing as one that they really loved back in the day, but they fell out of love with it. They used to think it was amazing, and now they don't necessarily hate it. It's just kind of meh. Do you remember in our top 10 whiskeys for beginners video, this came in at number 1.
Yeah. But to me, this is still one of the best blended malts.
Oh yeah.
That I always come back to it.
For the price and the richness of the flavors.
However,
Yeah.
the thing that turned me off on it for a little while, I always thought of this as a smooth butterscotchy malt.
Fruity. I'm getting fruity.
And fruit.
Yeah.
However, there is this funky, overly malty note that I find in a lot of space sides.
So you do need to like the malty.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're not a fan of that, then you're not really going to dig this.
And so over time, that malt sort of takes over.
Yeah. For people that are getting into the whiskey scene that are likely candidates to really go diving headfirst into scotch, into malts, into that whole thing, this is probably a good place. It's very, very accessible, both in price point and distribution. To be fair, there's a lot of people that don't really like maltiness.
Yeah, and that malt
And
funky note
that's
is
gonna turn them
definitely in
off.
here. If you're willing to come back to it after discovering that same malty note in a whole bunch of single malts that we've tried, I've come back to finding it in here and liking it again instead of it being the thing that threw me off.
Okay, number 5. All right, this is gonna be a little bit.
Oh no.
Buffalo Trace.
Fell out of love?
Buffalo Trace. Now I was reading through the comments because I tell people like, hey, put in the comments if you know why you fell out of love with it.
Yeah.
What's the reason?
I'm gonna need an explanation for that.
The price. The popularity. They no longer think it's worth the price that it's been driven up to.
I 100% agree
And
with
it's
that.
harder to get. So they're kind of the pain in the ass of even getting the thing.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people are saying, I'm over it. Maybe their taste evolved, but I know the definite reason is there's a lot of people who are like, it's no longer worth the demand that it's commanding.
That was a control on this list I didn't even think of. But I totally agree.
Yeah.
I never even looked for Buffalo Trace.
Right.
Because I know, one, it's probably not gonna be on the shelf. And if it is, it's gonna be so freaking expensive, I could get Wild Turkey 101 and be just as happy.
Yeah.
Can I do a little aside here for a second? It's a little bit of a rabbit trail.
Whisper it in my ear.
It's really cold.
You're not whispering it.
No.
Like,
No, this is not for you. It's really
No,
cold
like,
outside, and this is the perfect weather. No, Jesus! Oh, it's his hand on my head.
Right.
I'm never gonna be able to unfeel
all right,
that.
now say it.
I can feel
Say it.
the softness of the.
Say it.
Oh God!
I still like the hell out of the Buffalo Trace.
I still do too, but I agree with why it's on the list.
I get it if it's no longer worth the price point, the pain in the ass of finding it, because there's a lot of people that are fortunately, it's not a problem. I can find this anywhere. And some people, they're throwing their hands up. They can't even with trying to get their hands on
can't even.
Now this one, the Jameson.
Okay, so I have a soft spot for Jameson.
So do I.
Because this is how I started. Finisher whiskey, evidently.
Are you driving with?
Yeah. I was the guy who drank Jameson every time I went to the bar, every time I played a show. It was always Jameson. And then I just sort of quit drinking it.
Why?
Honestly, because I got a lot more whiskey bottles at my house that I really loved.
Yeah.
And I just would always skip it.
So you went exploring?
I went exploring.
Yeah. I think for what it delivers,
yes,
it's a nice classic Irish shortbread cookie, that buttery vanilla type of note there. And it is a lower proof. You're not going to get a big old wall of flavor, but to my point, if you're getting into whiskey and you're just wanting something that's not going to hurt you. We did a distillery tour with Jameson, behind the scenes, the whole bit. We'll link that up there.
It's a damn good budget Irish blend. What was number 3?
Maker's Mark.
Why would you fall out of love with Makers?
Well,
is it also no, because they're not rare, and they're freaking everywhere.
Here's the thing, because there's a lot of different paths that people can take getting into whiskey.
Yeah.
And I think with the Jameson, maybe the college, and the shops and all that, maybe that's more of like the party crowd, right? But if you were just kind of like getting into something by
go
yourself,
for the big brand.
You go for a big brand, something that looks like it's going to be reasonably nice for the money.
Right. And they're right, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a great whiskey.
I also think once you get it in your head that, okay, I like whiskey, what else is out there?
Right.
Then there's a whole nother world of flavors and experiences that you can find in bottles that you're not going to find in these giant brands that we see following up on.
I totally agree with that. But I think we're also coming to a pattern here, which is don't crap on the door you came in through just because once you open the door, you discovered a whole different world.
Like I was saying, it's meeting people where they're at, right? Some people, this is the right category, the right bottle, the right price point, the right accessibility, the right flavors, all of that for them right now. If you have been around the block multiple times with a lot of different whiskeys, it's a little bit proof down, it's a little bit simple, but for what it is, it's nice.
Number 2?
Any guesses?
Crown Royal.
Why would you? It's Crown Royal.
Yeah, all right. Let's move on.
Like Jameson and Irish.
Yeah.
Like the Maker's Mark and Bourbon. Crown Royal and Canadian. Honestly, I think this is a great example of the impact of marketing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are getting into whiskey and they want something that feels like, it's got quality and it's like
got the bag.
It's like the leader for a reason, like the bag and the whole thing, and like the crown and and there's some comments in there. It's like, man, when I was picking up bottles and I was just looking for something and I didn't really know. I always considered Crown Royal to be like the king of whiskey, which was their words.
That's the idea.
There's a reason why you consider it the king of whiskey.
Yeah.
But it's just really simple. It's let's give some notes real quick.
Tastes and smells.
Wow, that is so.
Like whiskey, and
you know what though?
It's vaguely Canadian.
Yeah, it's fine. Whenever a lot of people are first getting into whiskey, their defining characteristic that they have, like the main thing they could consider the defining quality, is this idea of smoothness.
Yeah, and it definitely goes down like sugar butter.
I'm not going to do it because I don't want to die, but I could drink this like I was chugging water.
Right. Yeah, it does go down that easy.
Stuff, you get used to it.
Sorry. This is a great point you're making.
What are you saying?
What am I saying?
Oh, Jesus!
You want to know what I'm saying? Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
You see these microphones?
Yes.
Are you smelling the microphones? This is a brand new microphone.
It smells new.
It smells like really nice. What does it smell like to you?
It smells like a new speaker cabinet.
Oh, I was getting like a Toys R Us vibe.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, we have to pay for these mics.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
how?
We're going to do a sponsorship.
Who's sponsoring it?
It's this episode is brought to you by the Wizard of Ads Partners. And if you recall, they specialize in turning... Oh my God, that smells so good.
No shoes.
Hold on just a moment. I mean they're pretty expensive, but I think it's worth it.
It's new shoes.
Specialize in turning small businesses into big businesses. It's just...
You know what they say about your shoe size?
What is that?
Big shoes, big feet.
Damn it. Now, in the voting, Daniel, this by far, like, wasn't even close. The second and third and fourth place, they were like a fraction of what this whiskey ended up being in terms of the whiskey you fell out of love with. And I think case in point, it's you're young and you want something that you've heard of.
All of the above.
Yeah.
You realize that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is mixer. This is people doing shots.
Yeah.
This is the party people.
And I was walking out of the studio on the way here, and Fancy Dan, he says, "What are you doing?" I was like, "We're shooting a Tribe episode." "What about?" It's about whiskeys you fell out of love with. Before I finished Dan's sentence, he said, "Jack Daniels."
Yeah.
He hadn't seen any of the poll results or anything. But it's...
Here's the thing, though. I would rather drink this than Crown Royal. Like, this is more up my alley of flavor profile.
Yeah, well, and this...
I get why you'd fall out of love with it.
Yeah, and this is basically a perfect example of individual preferences, because some people may not like that oakiness.
Yeah.
They want something that's just a little bit more sweet and desserty. If you're new to whiskey, I think it's great that this is your gateway, but what I see in the results is there's a ton of people who said, "This is what I brought to the prom,
Right.
but I started looking around the room and realized I can do a lot better."
That's such a terrible analogy. I'm gonna say something for real. You want some Lafroig?
What is
Okay.
this?
What are you gonna...
What is this?
You just added water to your...
Oh, there's a color to it.
Sweet Jesus.
I did another poll, flipped the question.
Okay.
I flipped the question, what is the whiskey that at first you did not like,
Right.
but you learned to love? And now you consider it amongst one of your favorites.
Yeah.
The number one result,
Yeah, it's gotta be Lafroig 10.
again by far, the Lafroig
Yeah.
10. And then also the results below Lafroig,
Were there a lot of peaty ones in
a
there?
lot of Islay, smoky, peaty Islay
Ardbeg's
scotches.
gonna be in there.
Yeah. The outlier, though, was a bourbon, and a bourbon that they did not like at first, but they really learned to love it. Now they consider it amongst one of their favorites. Do you know what this
Huh.
is? It very
Is it
often...
gonna be Jim Beam?
Nope. It very often shows up high on our bourbon.
Wild Turkey, then.
The 101.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a lot of people that at first approach
like it?
did not like the 101.
Huh.
And then over time, they really started to
I
appreciate
can
the
see
layers
that.
and the complexity.
Because I didn't really like bourbon out of the gates, but I still dig Wild Turkey 101 now.
Well, and also pretty high was basically just some people voting up the category of rye.
Right.
Which we're in the same boat.
Right.
I don't know if the episode came out last week or it's going to come out the week after this, but we shot an episode with master distillers. They reveal the favorite whiskey that's not their own.
Yes.
And what we see over and over and over again is I'm thinking, I'm going into this, it's going to be some like
Rare.
Yeah,
Cast
exotic,
strength.
special, never heard of
Yeah.
it. They had like the inside track on the
Something
inside
to
track.
prove.
Yeah.
It's not even released, it's a sample bottle that they never put out.
An experimental thing from like the early 1900s.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, oh my gosh, the vast majority of all these people are choosing really, really pedestrian bottles.
Yeah, it was like Glenfiddich.
Right.
Like, I mean, shocking the entry level.
And what they're saying is, this is really simple. Then I went through all of these experiences and I come back and I'm equipped now
Yeah.
to find all of these layers that I did not fully understand or appreciate before.
I heard several of them say, I didn't appreciate this whiskey until I tried to make whiskey.
Yeah. These aren't, just run-of-the-mill asshats
No,
like
these are
us.
World award winning.
Yes,
Yeah.
like the really top shelf distillers. Let's do some dumb stuff. Continuing down this path of things we fell out of love with, I wanted to reach back. I wanted to dust off an old flame. How you doing?
Carry on.
Hey, call.
No! How do you even know this person?
Hello?
Hey, it's Rex. How are you?
Oh, hi. I'm doing all right.
Good. I'm sitting here with Daniel, and I appreciate you being a sport here.
It's all right, yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, how you doing?
I had no idea this was headed my way until until he asked Siri to call you.
Daniel, do you want to talk about some feelings?
Feelings. I'm gonna need a higher proof whiskey.
Oh, now
Nothing more
you're
than
now you're back in love with the higher proof whiskey.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Hey, I want to keep this on theme here. We're talking about whiskeys that we fell in love with. What about you? Are you enjoying a whiskey? What do you like?
Yeah, I've been really into this blended scotch. Recently, it's called Hennigan's Scotch.
Hennigan's?
Hennigan's.
Have you heard of Hennigan's?
I have not.
What is the back of the bottle say? What does the label say? Tell us about Hennigan's.
Well, since 1939, I'm reading the label.
You are reading the label.
Hennigan's has artfully crafted its spirits, distilled with tradition and the highest quality and newest technology of Bofa. Do you know about Bofa?
No, I don't.
Bofa Goose Nuts?
We bop and hippity hop, I'm as happy as I can be. Oh, boom, boom, and hippity zoom. Love is sweet, love is grand, works one. Oh, we bop and hippity hop, I'll never be a millionaire.